Up guys, we are here in Kaunas. It is snowy, it's cold. Had my consultation yesterday at Nordesthetics with the surgeon, whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce without reading it. I was meant to film stuff in the consultation, but it sort of blew my brain a little bit. So later on, when we're out in the snow, I am going to do like a piece to camera and chat about it. Today though, we're exploring the city, looking into museums, eating some good food, avoiding garlic and ginger because apparently they make you bleed more. Just having a nice time and enjoying standing up whilst I still can. What is up guys? So earlier on I said I would sort of chat about the consultation process a little bit, and this is it. I'm going to assume people skipped through some stuff of the city. You probably shouldn't. Kaunas is pretty beautiful. However, the consultation, yesterday we got picked up by a driver from Nordesthetics clinic. They were on time, really nice person, good driving, all safe. Really strange being over here and seeing people just crack on, even though the snow's really deep. People driving rear wheel drive cars and don't seem to care. So it's sort of refreshing to see people just getting on with stuff. But got to the clinic and it was really crazy. It's like a fancy spa or something out of the future. Everything's really clean, like pristine, very shiny, very nice. Was met by the ladies on reception. They sort of went through everything, gave me a big stack of paperwork, super thick, super hefty. So first bit of time we were there was spent in a reception area, drinking coffee, drinking water, stuff like that, and working through a big chunk of paperwork. It's a lot, and it sort of makes everything feel very real really quickly when you're signing loads of waivers and going through all that sort of thing. Then I had a blood test, height and weight were taken, sort of what I expected. We were weighing in sort of middle of the morning, so we'd had breakfast, drank quite a bit before then, so weight was higher than it shows when I've been weighing in the morning. But obviously they're aware of that. They're also aware that I've got loose skin and fat. That's why I've given them a fairly hefty chunk of money to get rid of that. So got out there, got the blood test done, and then back out from reception to finish off the paperwork. Once that paperwork was finished off, the surgeon came and grabbed me. I'm going to try and say his name. It's Mantis Kievisas, I think. If it's not, I'm really sorry. But he's an amazing surgeon. It's a little bit like getting surgery off Big Z. Everything is very factual. It's sort of quite short, but I found that really reassuring. There was no sort of wandering about. It was, as he said, every case is different, every recovery is different, every surgery is different. So all he can do is go through risk factors and what realistically might actually occur and what hopefully doesn't occur, what could occur, what will go on, what to do if this happens, what to do if this happens. Once we've gone through some risk factors and talked about sort of reasons behind the surgery and things like that, we went into another room and went through what the options for procedure are and what they can do, what they can't do, what's realistic, what to expect. So what he's decided is best is to do what's known as a extended fleur de lis. So there'll be a cut from my sternum notch basically down to my hips. There'll be a cut that goes essentially from erector to erector. So it's not quite a 360, but it's most of the way to a 360. And then the same across the chest as well. He's explained that, you know, the scar has to end somewhere, and until they actually get in and see what's going on, they're not 100% sure what's going to happen in terms of like any skin or fat I have in my armpit or on my side. I'm hoping that it can sort of tie into a lat or something. So, you know, if I just need to start doing loads of pull-ups next year to fill things out and make stuff look a bit less weird, then that's what I'll do. It might be a case of down the line deciding to return for more surgery to get rid of certain stuff. I'm not 100% sure. But the key thing for me is essentially from hip flexor to collarbone, it's going to be as flat as it can be. Won't be loose skin, stuff won't be hanging around. Won't be clapping myself when I jump off a bouldering wall and all my skin flaps together. Like all of that stuff is going to stop. So it's interesting. It's very strange to be thinking that at the time I'm filming this and it's going out, it's in like 14, 15 hours, I'll be asleep and someone will have their hands up inside, but we'll see what's going on. Tomorrow morning, I'll be getting picked up probably at about 7:30, then go to the clinic. I have a consultation with the anaesthetist or anesthesiologist. I'm not really sure which is which and what the difference is, but the people who are going to make me not be awake. Another meeting with the surgeon. Then I get prepped for surgery, so that's all cleaned and drawn on, so they're marked up, so they don't accidentally put more fat on, I suppose, and put my nipples in the right place and stuff like that. Speaking of which, a question I've been joking about with people for ages, I finally have an answer to. I'm having what's known as a free nipple. So they're taking it off, they'll pop them on a shelf somewhere, and then after they've sort of done the getting rid of all the fat and skin on my chest, the nipple goes back on. So it is a full skin graft, so he said they'll be ornamental, as it were, but men's nipples are pretty ornamental as it is anyway, so they'll all get chopped off. Everything will be sort of as good as it can be. He's hoping not to join the scars, but if he has to, he has to. You know, the key thing for me is scarring. It's one of those things that happens. Dealing with scars is going to be way easier than dealing with all the skin and fat and stuff like that. So I think after a year or so, the plan would be to get stuff tattooed over. I don't know what I'd do, who'd do it, where I'd go. Probably Gordon James, who did this on my arm. But I don't know. It's a big surface of fresh skin, so I'll see what happens with it. But that's sort of it, as far as I know, in terms of procedure. The one variable we have left is what's going on with my actual abdominal wall. So there's diastasis recti, which is what sort of happens during pregnancy, where your abdominal wall gets pulled apart. It doesn't seem to think that's going to be an issue, which is really good. That adds to the recovery. The next thing we need to check, and you can only check when he's inside, is a layer of fascia that lies over your abdominal wall. Essentially has been through the same process as my skin has, so it's been stretched to a point, and if it's not come back to being like tight and how it should be, then they'd have to stitch that up. That sort of doubles or triples the potential recovery time. So the ideal outcome is he chops all the skin off, chops everything off, and then 4 to 6 weeks later, go climbing, everything's good, everything's happy, a little bit of swelling, deal with that. If they have to do any sort of surgical procedure to my abdominal wall or to the fascia or anything like that, then it's up to 12 weeks before I can do anything exercise that relates to my core. So that's climbing, lifting, things like that. But I can go walking, I can do all that pretty much straight away. So surgery is scheduled for 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. That is in Lithuania, so I think that's 7:30 a.m. in the UK. And it's a different time that relates to that wherever you are in the world. After the surgery, that evening, they're expecting me to be able to get up and have a walk around the clinic. If it's not that evening, it'll be first thing Thursday. I'm hoping I can get up that evening and then slowly increase that sort of movement every single day. I have to spend up to a week sort of bent over, so I'm not stretching any incisions. But again, that's the sort of thing where it's like every day start to inch it up. It'll be probably like 5 to 10 minute walks every hour is what I'm targeting, and then slowly increasing them. He said to eat as normal, or as normal as I can manage to eat. So you don't want to be dieting straight afterwards and not recovering and not healing properly. Once I'm back in the UK, I will be taking collagen. I'll be taking something that comes from pineapples that I can't remember the name of. And I will probably, for a period of time, take BPC 157, which is a peptide. And it helps healing. And, you know, I don't compete in any tested sports. So for me, something that helps healing may make the scars better, may speed up the healing process. I'm not interested in rushing back to stuff. But let's say in the normal case, you'll be fine to climb again in 12 weeks. In my mind, I'll still wait the 12 weeks, but I'll be sort of more fine, if that makes sense. Immediately following the surgery, I'm going to have a low acidity diet. This was recommended by Nathan Payton, who everyone should know. He's a nutritionist for Tom and Luke and a couple of my other clients as well. And he's a wizard in every sense of the word, both his knowledge and appearance. So I'll be doing exactly what Nathan says in terms of that. And then once I'm out of the hospital, I'll be looking forward to sort of walking around as much as I can. Me and Shiv have been sort of spotting places where, you know, we could walk here, get a coffee, have something to eat, which might take an hour, or we'll make it take an hour, and then walk back to the hotel, or sort of staging places that are 5 to 10 minutes apart. So I'm looking forward to getting out and about. Personally, my plan is to get off the pain medication as soon as possible, but that is absolutely under the guidance of the doctors and the people who are looking after me. I'm a firm believer that a certain amount of pain is probably good for healing, and it's good for keeping me in check. I know if something doesn't hurt, I'll just push it. So if it's manageable, I want to be off the pain medication as soon as I can. And then lymphatic drainage massage and things like that, try and maximise the healing. For the first period of time, I have to sleep essentially like I'm sat in a chair but lying down, so propping myself up, sleeping on my back. And then after 4 to 8 weeks, I can sleep on my side. Then later on I can sleep however. But again, I'm going to do exactly what he says. A key risk factor is obviously like DVT, especially with having to fly home. So my plan, if everything goes properly, is to be stood upright before the flight. If I'm able to stand up and not be in too much pain, then that will be a really good point. And then walking, essentially trying to board the plane as late as possible, trying to get off as soon as possible, standing up on the flight, doing all that sort of stuff, and just trying to move and trying to feel good during the process. And then once we get home, assuming that England is open again and the weather's not insane, we will drive back. And again, during that drive, it's probably 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on the weather conditions, for us to drive from Luton to Sheffield. So every hour we'll be stopping, grabbing a coffee, you know, like a normal road journey stuff, but grab a coffee, go for a walk for 5 minutes, make sure everything's moving. Then we get home, wash all our stuff, clean everything. Then the day after, drive over, pick up key, get back, and then conveniently all my rehab process fits perfectly in line with what we need to do with him. The only concern I sort of have is because I'll have had essentially a skin graft on my nipples. Its sheer force can cause sort of major issues. So I need to be careful, I need to be wary. I might need to chuck a pillow under my top or something, but again, whatever I do isn't going to be worse than dealing with what I've dealt with for years. So it's sort of happening. It'll be happening very quickly, very soon from now. So it got really real really quickly, but I'm excited for it. I'm suitably terrified, but I'm not the first person to have this procedure, so I know what they're doing. The service up to now has been incredible. The surgeon was very clear, very calm in his explanations, so everything's been good. My plan is, once I'm awake tomorrow, to get another video out sort of soonish of the immediate recovery, and then during visiting time I'll get Shiv to film shorter things, probably where I'm just chatting to the camera about how things feel, taking progress pictures and all that sort of stuff. Again, as I've said all the way through the process up to now, I want to be as open and honest about the situation as possible, because if there are people who are thinking about it, I want to give them the best information I can. But yeah, that's it. I will speak to everyone at some point. Thank you so much for messages and comments as well. It really means a lot. And yeah, that's it. I'll speak to you all soon.